Go live. Woohoo! All right, so if I hit all the right buttons, we are live again on YouTube for a special episode of Talk Power BI. So we're talking about something which is near and dear to my heart: creating Power BI superheroes. Ooh, I feel like Dr. Frankenstein. Woohoo! All right, so if I hit all the right buttons, okay, cool. We are live again there on and stop that there. So hey, if you're joining us online, go ahead and say hello on the chat window. Let us know that the audio and the video is working fine. You can see me, you can hear me. I see Jen Nabel is here. Hello, Jen. How's it going? And let's see. Okay, cool. So yeah, I just want to hear a few more hellos from few people, and I know there's a little bit of a lag, so we'll wait for that. Or you know what? Actually, let's dive in, folks. So I'm gonna dive into this because I'm super excited about. And you know what? I'm probably gonna stand up, if that's okay. All right, let's do this. Hopefully you can still see me and hear me. And Steve, of course, is gonna let me know if there are any issues. Oh yeah, hey, the hellos are coming in. Sean says hello. Hi there. Joaquin Barnett says hi. Hey, it'll be lovely if you can also type in like where are you calling in from? Where are you watching us from? So Bankola says hello. Chris says hello. Everything looks and sounds great. Samajan, excited to join the session. Joe Price says hi. All right, folks. So let's get going. I'm gonna line up my Power BI, not Power BI, the PowerPoint thing. So hello friends and welcome again. So today's topic is Power BI superheroes. Ooh, are they born or are they made? That's the key question. Now, of course, if you're joining this session, then that's not your question. Your question is probably is like, what about me? And it's okay to be selfish. You know, a lot of times it's okay to just think about yourself and say, what about me? Can I become a Power BI superhero? Now, of course, maybe you already are, and that's great. Thank you for joining. I would love to hear about your journey and your perspective on that. But if you're not, then that's a question. Is there something that I can learn that I can do, or is it something really you're born with? Now, I have, believe it or not, so of course, my business in a way is to create Power BI superheroes. I've dedicated my life to that. So this question I've grappled with quite a bit. So let's dive in, and you can let me know if this resonates with you or not. Well, most of you know me, Avi Singh, Microsoft MVP. You've probably seen my book out there. And just a friendly reminder to subscribe. And yeah, make sure to click that bell. That way you're notified whenever we go live and hang out and have a party over here, right? So let's get back to our topic of Power BI superheroes. And that question, that fundamental question of, are they born or are they made? Are they born or are they made? Which one is it? Which one is it? Just tell me. Now, somehow, when I think about superheroes, my mind goes all the way back to my childhood. So, my friends, I grew up in the C2 block in Lawrence Road, Delhi, right? And too much information, I know, but that's where I grew up, and I love that neighborhood. There was a park in the back, and we could hop over a fence and just go out there and play lots and lots of cricket. That's what it was all about growing up in India, lots of cricket. But in the front of our house, there was this family who worked there. I remember the guy's name. His name was Munna, right? And they were a family of four. And what they would do, now this may seem odd, maybe in US, maybe not, I don't know. But they had these two rickety wooden tables. And they had these steam-powered steam irons, right? It was sorry, not steam-powered, coal-powered. They're not electric steam irons; they were coal-powered. He would heat up like coal, light it on fire, and put that in this huge, heavy steam iron, and use that to iron clothes for the whole of the neighborhood. And that's pretty typical in India. Every block has those, right? The press swallows, they're called. So yeah, so he was there. His wife and his two kids would tag along, and every single day he would make the trek on a bicycle with his family of four. And I'm not sure in India, again, that was a very common sight. Nobody would blink an eye. But now when I think about it, it was a little bit bizarre. A family of four on a bicycle, and the way that worked was the husband was, of course, be kind of riding the bike, Munna, and then wife would be in the back where they have a special kind of seat attached to it, and she would be holding a baby, and then another older child would be, sitting in the front. And I saw them every single day. Now, so when I think about superheroes, when I think about that, somehow that vision flashes through my mind. And what the thought that comes to me is that is it it's maybe not this alien which comes from another planet, right? Some being which is born with these superpowers. Maybe superheroes are all amongst us, They're all among us, and maybe being a superhero is about just that daily fight, that daily struggle to get better, right? Every day you get up, get on that bike, put your family on it, and pedal to work. Pedal to work, my friend, because it's about getting a little bit better every day. Creating that better promise of life, maybe not for yourself, but for your kids, right? So, and I find that so powerful. So, isn't this the recipe of success? Then you get started, you keep going, and you never give up. Now, if you did these three things, can you fail? Is it even possible to fail? Well, if you don't give up, how do you fail? And if you don't fail, then isn't success inevitable, my friends? So type in the comment box. Let me know if this makes sense. Is it as simple as that? Is it this three-step process? Get started, keep going, never give up. Now I know there's a little bit of lag, so I'm going to come back and look at all your comments. So do type in. Let me know if this is it. I mean, maybe we're overcomplicating stuff. This is the simple key to success. Now, of course, I do want to hear your comments, but I'm going to keep going. And I call bullshit on that. All right? It's one of those garbage thing which I guess I grew up with. And it's one of those things where it plays in your subconscious level. You're not even aware that you operate this way. Right? And again, you've heard me on a previous talk about the hard work myth. It's right along those lines where you say, oh yeah, no, all you got to do is work hard. And you hear it from the greats as well. It's like, oh yeah, just work hard and come on, pull yourself up from your bootstraps and all that crap. And that's all that it is. It is crap. And again, my friend, breakthroughs happen when you start questioning these things around you. Now, if you're just going to toe the line, if you're going to follow the herd, follow along. Frankly, why the heck are you here? Get off the channel. I don't want you here because that's not what we're about, right? If you just want to follow along in a crowd, like, yep, they're going this way, must be right. I don't know if it's going over a cliff. I'm just going to go that way. That's not what we are here. So question this, that if this is really as simple as this, then shouldn't more people be successful? Do you not know one person who did this thing all his life? I don't know, maybe somebody from your parent generation, maybe somebody even in current generation who's doing all these three things and not getting anywhere. And maybe the person you know is yourself. Believe me, I've been there. So I graduated at the top of my class. Hey, I was the smartest kid, supposedly, right? I mean, I was supposed to have the biggest success. Oh, my career went nowhere. Nowhere. I went in these circles. It was so frustrating. And LinkedIn was my enemy number one. Enemy number one, my friends. Every time I opened it, somebody got promoted, somebody got a raise, somebody's doing something, and I was just going nowhere. So if it was really this, do you think I was not doing these things? Are you really saying I was just sitting on my bum doing nothing? Huh? No, man, I was working my ass off. I was doing these things. I had gotten started. I kept going. I wasn't giving up. Besides me, I had a family around me. So this is not it. Not it. There's more to it. There has to be more. There's something we're missing. I'll come back to that. But I want you to meet some real life superheroes. Now, my friends, I don't use that word lightly. These are the people who inspire me. When I'm feeling down, and believe it or not, I know, it's the iceberg effect. You probably see me when I'm like pumped up, right? But man, I get down like anybody else. And when I'm feeling really blue, These are the people who pull me up. Thinking about them. They're the ones who inspire me. They're the ones who keep me going. They're the ones who force me to dream bigger, be a better version of myself. So I want you to meet Bam Baker at the top there and Justina Bucks. Right? And they both have been featured on my channel, along with a lot of other superheroes. Uh, One tends to moderate this session as well. So they've been featured on my channel. But yeah, so Bam Baker, let's talk about that, the one on the top. In her words, so I'm going to give you both of the stories in two sentences, and then I'll elaborate. Sorry, I have to elaborate. So let's see. I just want to keep an eye. All right, cool. So Bam Baker, in her words, so she works at Volvo. She said, Avi, I was just an accountant for 15 years. But now people seek me out from the world over. Right? So she's this celebrity in Volvo. And when they have these worldwide meetings and stuff, yeah, they seek her out like, oh my God, you're Bam, you're the Power BI lady. How awesome is that? And again, if you think about it, did Bam fundamentally changed? Did she start doing any of those things? Had she not gotten started? Didn't she keep going? Or had she given up? No. She was doing those things for 15 years. And she was a wallflower in the company. You know, one of those people I talk about who like in the data dungeon and just cranking away, cranking away. Well, what was the impact? What was the recognition? It wasn't there. A good sign that you're in the data dungeon, you've heard this before, my friends, if you've hung around with me, you're overworked and underappreciated. you know, so what changed? Well, something changed. Something changed that made her take off. So that is an incredible story that inspires me every single day. The other one is Justina Bucks, the one at the bottom. And again, you can find these on the channel. Later, not now. Stay with me. Focus. All right. So she took a different route. She had a job which she hated, and she was on a maternity leave, and she didn't want to go back to that. And that's when she enrolled in the course. I think her baby was like 7 days old. It was nuts, right? So she enrolled in the course, and it wasn't easy. I wouldn't say it was easy. And at one point, it was touch and go, where she reached out to me and said, Avi, man, my paternity leave is going to end soon, and I have a choice. I can extend it unpaid, or I can just kind of give up and go back. I'm so glad she didn't do that. Here's why. I heard from her later. I already knew that she had clients the world over now, New York, London, and all the happening places. But she wrote me a note and said, Avi, I 4x'd my annual income. And my only response was, keep going, right? So think about this, folks. I mean, and again, the general conception, the general idea is that women take a hit in their career around the time, around, maternity leave and this, that, right? But Justina used that to transform her career and just go to a whole different level. These two are real life superheroes. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, they are certainly in my book. Inspire me every day. But it's confession time, my friends, right? I want to confess something to you. Something that I'm not entirely proud of. So our course, our program, has 500 plus students. And I saw Justina and I saw Pam, and I've heard many stories like those. And they're incredibly inspiring. But I also know that wasn't the truth for everyone. There were members in the program who were kind of in the same place. And you can teach them Power BI, but in a way they end up doing more of the same thing. So I talked about the data dungeon, overworked, underappreciated, and voila, now you know Power BI. Oh, what is it supposed to suddenly turn into a superstar? Guess what? That doesn't work that way. Because again, I saw these people that I talked to, right? Students in my program have gone through the same program, have the same support than everybody else, right? But they were still stuck in the data dungeon. Well, maybe due to Power BI, they were cranking out 100 times more report. But guess what? The appetite for business for BI is endless. It's insatiable, and sometimes it's latent. Sometimes it's, people, like, it's latent, but you kind of awaken the monster when they see Power BI. You awaken it when you start turning things around in like 5 minutes, or you say to somebody that, when they ask you a question, oh, this looks great. Can I have the? What about this? And you say, hold on 1 second. Just stay right there, my friend. And you drag and drop a field, and right. And what comes next? Like, oh my gosh. Oh, that's awesome. Ooh, what about this? What about that? What about, right? So that is endless. If you're going to be on that treadmill, then you're going to be on that treadmill all your life. Now, I talk to people, I talk to new students, right? We do this personal welcome call, and they ask me this question. It's like, Avi, man, how can I build a career? How can I become a Power BI developer? And oh my God, no words scare me more than those. How many are there? Power BI developer. 3, okay. But well, maybe Power BI is 2 words. So 4 words. Scariest words. Oh my gosh. Power BI developer. Nobody in this whole wide world, well, okay, maybe a few people, right, should be striving to be a Power BI developer. It's what's the point? So I want you to dream bigger. I want you to think about making the impact. I want you to think about not just cranking out these reports like, oh, cool, I can develop any report that I want. Well, I can lead you to the insight you need. And then what? I can partner with you to bring those insights to life, right? That's what the impact is about. Hey, but I'm getting away from myself. So clearly, there was something that Pam and Justina, well, maybe they were born with, maybe they were special, or I wondered if they knew something that the others didn't. Then it could be taught. Or if they did something that the others didn't, well, that could be taught as well. And if I can bottle that, whew, I mean, could we just crank out these superheroes? I mean, why crank out like average Joes when I can tap into that, when I can tap into that higher level and understand that, and crank out these amazing superheroes? And of course, that would, imagine how much, uh, well, you've heard my goal, 1 million impact, 1 million lives. And I know the only way I'm going to get there is to empower those 1,000 people who each empower 1,000 more. If that's not the definition of a superhero, what is? So, guys, I'm very vested in this. This is my life mission. So how can I just crank these out? Where is the blueprint? Right? Just give me the blueprint, damn it. Like, hey, do these things, and then you rise to a whole different level. So I've been working on that, my friend. So hey, I'm not saying that I know all the answers. I'm just going to give you the answers that I know. And then you're your own judge, right? You make up your own mind, and you can chart your own destiny and create your own rules to do the life you want to create. Hopefully, it's a bigger, better version, like this bigger, endless, without limits, rather than, oh no, I'm just gonna, this is fine for me. Well, actually, that's okay too. If yeah, if you want what you have, good, right? But if you do want something different, just remember, my friends, what got you here won't get you there, right? So yeah, you gotta make a change. If you keep doing the same thing, guess what? You're gonna get the same results. So if you're happy with who you are, 2 thumbs up for you, right? Awesome, that's great. Now let's go back to the recipe. So there was something in this, my friends. Something in this. So we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I'm just realizing, I don't know from where. Actually, I know from where. My accent is all messed up. So of course I grew up in India, so I have a little bit of that. And then I realized I've been mixing it a little bit of British, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, my kids are watching a lot of British shows these days. Anyway, all right. So focus. All right. So we're back here about the recipe of the superhero, the blueprint. And again, if they're only born, then, well, frankly, I can't do anything. So I got to believe. I have a vested interest in believing that they can be made. And if they can be made, what the heck is the blueprint? Now, these 3 things, I think they're all valid. They're all valid, every single one of them. And and I wouldn't say that I created it because I didn't. All my programs started off with a beta and then evolved with the students' feedback, and they're still evolving. In a way, they're all in beta and probably always will be. Right? So we did get a lot of things right. Again, with the help of all my students. So um, get started. So we have the course, and I firmly believe in less is more. There's nothing which can throw you off track from the path of becoming a superhero than overwhelm, right? Then this feeling you go out there and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to do Power BI, I got to do R, I got to do Python, I got to do machine learning, I got to do Azure, and this and that, a whole long list of things. No, my friends, no, don't just stop it, right? So less is more. So we created that, and we put the most powerful stuff inside the course. And we said, hey, this is the 20% that's going to give you the 80% of the results. Well, once you get there, and again, these results are going to be pretty supersized because Power BI is amazing. With that 20%, man, you can move the world. So we knew this was powerful, but we didn't stop there. We built a community around, and you've heard me talk about this. Gosh, when it started, I was the only one. It was like a Q&A forum with Avi. I was the only one answering questions. But now, by the time I see a question, there are like 5 responses already, or sometimes there are 13. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna step away from this. They got this. So it's an amazing community, and of course, we built direct support from me, and so forth. Right. So and the last part, though, which I firmly believed in, and I talked to every one of my students about this in the welcome call, in the intro videos, and I said, hey, the real learning comes from doing. The real learning comes from doing. The course is great, right? Just go through that, and there are exercises, and there are adventure works, but, the real learning happens when rubber hits the road. So go apply it, and I know what's going to happen. You're going to get stuck. You're going to need help, but that's where the community and support is. And so you're going to fail, but then you're going to win. And every time you get over that roadblock and you keep going, that's maybe the circle of greatness. I don't know, right? But of course, this is where I noticed a problem that for some folks, that wasn't happening. It wasn't either they did not have the opportunity at their workplace, or it wasn't enough. What they were doing didn't give them that confidence where they could say, hey, cool, now, if I can do this, I can help anybody else, right? So it wasn't there. So we started the Real Power BI project. So you probably heard about this if you have hung out on my channel. The premise is really simple. We go out there. We probably reached out to you too. Say, hey, hello. Do you run a business? Do you deal with data? Right? I mean, are you part of a business? Do you deal with any data? That's all of us, right? And would you like us to work on or solve your business problem using Power BI for free? And so people submitted these projects, and we matched them up with these students. Now, have you heard the phrase, my friends, that there's no free lunch? I think it's an American phrase. At least I learned when I came to America, and that is absolutely true. So here's a secret. Hey, for a business user, and you submitted the project for this, cover your ears. It's not free. It's not free because every party is paying in some way. So the way these business users are paying are threefold. One, they're paying with their time, right? I mean, their time is valuable, and they're going to be spending that time with these students to give their requirements, have these meetings, look at the reports, all of that stuff, right? So they're paying with their time. And second, most importantly, they're paying with their data set. Now, my friends, you've heard me talk about this. If you go download a public data sets, UNICEF, World Health, whatever, I don't really care, airlines, right? All the popular ones, basketball, all these dashboards you see out there. It's like hitting a tennis ball against a wall. It's not fun. Frankly, it never excites me. I relish a real data set and working with a real client. So they're also providing that, right? So they're paying in these two ways. And the third one is they're going to give their feedback. And if it's positive, that's awesome. It becomes a testimonial for this person. If it's not that positive, well, then it's hopefully constructive, and they can use that to improve themselves. So all of this, you see, this is a win-win-win. Now, the business get their project done without paying any money, although they do pay in other ways. And what happens with a Power BI member, though? Now, this is still the first time. This is actually the third time we're running Real Power BI, but the first time we're running in this big way. So the jury is still out, but the hope is, and I've seen early indications of this, is that when you do this, it gives you a whole different level of confidence. And again, that thing that switch that clicks inside, which says, "Oh, I did this. I did this for Michael. I can do it for anybody else, right? Why not?" Yeah. So, and that is so empowering. That is powerful, and it's so odd. You know, when I started to talk about real Power BI, and I said this whole learning by doing, and a lot of people has signed up for real Power BI, working on a real Power BI project. So I'm talking about the members, Learn Power BI members, even when they have a full time job with, I don't know, like where part of their duties is to build Power BI reports and projects, right? So there's something that, and this is frankly I don't fully understand, but there's something extra here which they're not getting at work, even though they're building Power BI. And there's something about this experience which is special. So I don't really know what this, but I know it's valuable. So even for people who are kind of working inside the company, and of course then there are people who are like, I don't know, don't have an opportunity to use Power BI at work or something like that, or in between jobs and things like that. For them, of course, real Power BI is the only way they're going to get real life Power BI experience. So this is great, win-win-win for all. But this was the bonus. Are you ready for this? This was awesome. I didn't expect it, but when people were submitting their business projects for Real Power BI, we asked them one last question and then said, "Hey, if if the project goes awesome, right? Would you be willing to continue on a paid basis?" And I don't know how they're going to answer. Every single one of them said yes. So that's just gravy. Frankly, I wasn't aiming for that. That's not the idea of real Power BI. They're gonna reel you in and then have you paying. No, no, that's not it at all. We genuinely want to create something awesome with you and have this experience for students. Again, a win-win. But it seems, at least in the first round, all of these businesses were open to that, and that's good. That's just bonus. So we'll see. Cool. So, by the way, this is, yeah, it's a screenshot of the projects that are going on right now. May 3rd, mark that in your calendar. You can have all of these people come on and make a presentation. And what I've told them is just keep it real, right? So let's say you struggled for the whole month and couldn't get anywhere. I don't care. Just talk about that. Talk about, hey, these are the problems. And again, there's a reason we call this real Power BI. If that was your experience, that's real. I want you to share it. I want people to see and hear that, hey, sometimes projects can run into issues. But I've seen the progress on some of these. So, yeah, some maybe, well, I don't know if you haven't been able to check up on each one of them, but some would show you pretty cool stuff that they've done. All right, so May 3rd, Friday, May 3rd. So here's this next part. Keep going. So where do you go from there? Let's say you do get that confidence. Oh, cool. Hey, hello world, I'm ready. You know that phrase where build and they shall come, right? And what was that? What was that movie? And again, gosh, I wouldn't be able to pick it up in your comments, but about the guy building a baseball field out out in a farm. Oh gosh, not a great movie, but you know, so you had this idea that, oh, you just say, oh, now I'm ready, and then what happens? Crickets, nothing, right? Like, what do you do now? Like, how do you keep going from this point? Now again, some are lucky where they have endless opportunities in the role that they're in, and that's great. Good for them. Good for them. But what about the rest of them? Again, think about it. I'm trying to make a factory of superheroes. We're trying to stamp them out, every single day, or I don't know, every 3 months, 6 months. I would take that, right? So I just stamp them out. So I can't be reliant on their circumstances. I can't rely on whether they are or are not in a position where they can just keep going at this top level, be the best version of they can be, make the biggest impact that they can. I want to create it for them. I want to create it for them, my friends. So this is what we have done. We have, um, so the idea is simple, but it's big in a way. So the idea is really kind of I don't know. I don't really have a good name for it. I've been calling it the Power BI Village, and some of you have heard my thoughts about that. So maybe it's like the folks that I've talked to, they have said that it's like an incubator. Maybe it is. and other folks have talked about, or maybe it's like a boutique consulting firm. I don't know what it is. I frankly, I don't. I'm not much for labels right now. And if I'm going to label it, I call it the Power BI Village. So there are a few things about the Power BI Village, which is one. And those who read my LinkedIn article, you do follow me on LinkedIn, right? All right, no worries if you don't. There were three things which characterize this village. One is collaboration over competition. If you put yourself first, then it's not going to work out. And again, I mean, it's just it's yeah, that's that's the world that I've created. So we work together, we help each other, and I've seen this come about in our community. So collaboration before competition, and the next thing was the Power BI Village, that we're badasses. And when you hear that word, I don't know, it may sound cocky, but it isn't. It's actually the opposite of that. We're badasses because we don't care whether we know, like, how much Power BI we know, because frankly that's the number one thing that I saw stop people from keep going. It stopped them because they felt that they weren't good enough. They felt that, oh no, I have to know more, and before I can do this, and I called BS on that. No, no, you don't. So yeah, they don't care about how much DAX they know, if they know calculate table, if they can do nested functions or whatever. You know, they what they focus on is making an impact. They know that they can solve business problems. That's what they focus on. Power BI is just a tool. And hey, if they don't know something, they can always learn. So in a way, they're badasses because they're like, hey, who cares? Who cares, if I don't know all of DAX, all of M, all of Power BI? I'm still going to help businesses. I'm still going to solve their problems. And I'm going to make a real impact in people's lives. And because I know that I don't know everything, I'm going to be humble about it. I'm going to be open to asking for help and leaning on the community, right? So that's number 2 in the Power BI Village. Number 3 is important to me, which is we operate not from a place where we have a void, but a place where we're full, where we're not driving this, we're not doing this so we can, kind of, make more money and be more successful, and and then we're gonna be worth it, and then we're gonna be happy or whatever, and then we're gonna live our dreams, and then we're gonna travel. None of that BS, right? So, and again, we might do that. All of that might happen, will happen. We will all make more money. Why wouldn't you? If you're gonna have a bigger impact on the world, don't you think you would make more money? Just just look around, right? I mean, Elon Musk makes a bigger impact than me, right? So all of that will happen, but that's not what's driving us. We're gonna do that while being full, while being contented, while being happy, while feeling powerful, while feeling enough right now, right? So that's the third thing. All right, so that's a Power BI Village, but really, what are we doing? Um, is we're taking all the consulting and training leads that are coming to us. These are companies looking for paid help who reach out to me, and we're matching it up with this group. And I think this can be an endless cycle, right? So because we keep getting leads through my YouTube channel, people find me, and some of them are looking for paid help, and we're just going to keep funneling them. Now, of course, this sounds easier than it is. Well, actually, it is easy, but it does take some figuring out. So we're still in the process of kind of tweaking it, how we can make it like just an engine, which is smooth and efficient. And yeah, we're gonna keep getting better at this. All right, cool. So that's the way we're tackling it. And again, I mean, that's just the way we've approached it. There may be a lot of different ways to do it. So what we talked about was get started, keep going. And the last one, though, never give up. I don't think I can give this to anybody. I don't know. This part, maybe you are born with. Well, actually, I would take that back. I think you can change that. It's all about your mindset. And I know that you can change your mindset, but sometimes it takes some work. Sometimes it takes a shift. And it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to take a long time. Believe it or not, mindset shifts can happen in a second. I've experienced those. I would love to talk about some of them. But I want you to meet some of these folks. All right, so here we have Jason Baldessari, we have Frank, and we have Peter, we have Catherine, we have Cheryl, we have Chris, we have Mark, we have Noah, and these are and we have Steve hidden away. I didn't mean to do that. All right. So folks, these are some amazing people. All right. So let's pull out some examples. So Noah, he is focused. His passion. Oh gosh, so he works at a nonprofit and he focuses on fundraising. But again, I mean, he's got the superpower now of Power BI, right? So, but his vision is so much bigger, where he wants to build a bridge from nonprofits to profits, and because and basically bring them together because they're both in a lot of cases they're cause driven and they have a lot more in common than they may or may not imagine, right? So be that bridge, be that glue between nonprofits and profits. And of course, do that. Every company has data, so that's going to be kind of his angle. It's like, hey, I'll help you understand to be more efficient and so forth. But that's his focus. Cheryl is helping construction companies with Power BI, leading them to step in the new age, if you will. So, oh my gosh, I remember the conversation I had with Cheryl when we first talked, and she talked about walking to companies where they didn't use a calculator, but it was like, I don't know, like it sounded like, to me it sounded like an abacus. It wasn't. It was some kind of an adding machine which they use to do the numbers. So yeah, I mean, not all industries. When you live in this Power BI bubble, it's like, oh gosh, everybody's using Power BI. Well, they're not, right? So she's helping those companies, and how do you talk to them? How do you convince them? Oh gosh, so Frank and Peter, they're based in United Kingdom, and they have this big vision. They have this big vision of helping people through training. Now, I've heard this story, and their life wasn't always easy, but they have this thing in their heart was that, hey, we got the opportunities and we were lucky, we were blessed, so that's great. I mean, they're feeling grateful for that, but they want to pass it around and they want to help others in turn. And folks, every single person, and I realized I missed one. I couldn't find his photograph when I asked him. Matt Jones, he's the MYOB guru. So anybody who's watching from Australia, I know it's early morning for you there, so thank you for joining, first of all. You know what I'm talking about. MYOB is QuickBooks in Australia. That's their number one platform, and he's doing the magic of MYOB and bringing that community to Power BI. And again, he's doing some of the same things where a lot of this community aren't ready. They're not familiar with Power BI. So man, each of these stories is pretty epic and amazing. And of course, you met Steve, and he's going through. His company's going through like a merger and changes, and how he's talking to the people around him, how he's kind of imagine ink being dropped into the water. He's trying to do that with Power BI. Just drop that and hopefully see it diffuse throughout the company. And it's sometimes it's slow, but he's working through that. So the question, folks, that we started off with is born or made, born or made. And if you look at all of these, tell me. I mean, so let's go back to where we started with. Superheroes are not these mythical things. I mean, sometimes maybe you look at me or you look at other Power BI experts, and I'm going to quote that. I don't know, who've written books and blogs and the MVP award or whatever, and it starts to make it seem that it's distant. It's far away, right? So think Superman, like, oh, he's from another planet. Yep, yeah, that's why superpowers, man, born with it. And I don't want you to think that way, because that's not true. That's just a mirage. These people are superheroes, aren't they? Are you going to take anything away from them? I mean, if you're making an impact on people around you, if you focus on your dream and moving forward, that is the definition of superhero. And you've heard my number one superhero, and I don't have his photo. Oh gosh, maybe my mom does. I'll pull that up. But Munna, right, the presswala in our neighborhood, he is a superhero for me, and so is every single face on here. And it takes nothing special. It takes nothing special. It just takes doing these three things. You gotta get started. And hey, if you need help, get a community around you, right? If that always helps. You gotta keep going. If you give up, even in my business community, I talk to my entrepreneurs, and my coach, I remember him telling me that, yep, I talked to a lot of people, and they failed just because they gave up. Man, uh, yeah. So if you keep going, if you never give up, right? Every time you fail, if you get back up and say, oh, well, what did I learn? Or who cares, right? Doesn't matter. Sometimes what helps is to have a short-term memory, right? All this about learning from failure, overrated, my friends. Sometimes you gotta just brush it off, like go again. So get started, keep going, never give up. But if you remember, I called BS on this. So am I gonna eat my hat? I'm gonna eat my own words. Well, I do think that these three things are relevant, but there is one missing factor. There is one missing factor, and once I'm gonna say it, you're gonna say, "Yep, obviously." But it's important, my friends, that this is what we forget about. You gotta do the right things. You gotta do the right things. You can do these three all your life. You can get started. You can keep going. You can never give up. Like, yeah, I'm cranking it out every day. I'm working hard, right? But what are you working towards? If you're not doing the things right, you're not gonna get the right results. And again, if you're in a place where you're perfectly happy and blissful, then there's nothing to change, right? There's nothing to change. But if you're in a place where you do want to make a change, remember that what got you here won't get you there. You're going to have to make a change. So look for that. Look for what's going on. So you got to do the right things. Oh, gosh, I had another thought, but I forgot. So, folks, uh, so again, and I don't have all the answers, but but this is what we're exploring. We're like, what are those right things? So the members you met, they're part of the highest level program that we offer right now, and it started in February, and it's in beta, and I think it's gonna be in beta for a long while. So hey, if you wanna work with us, so again, we have figured some stuff out. With the help of those amazing people that I showed, but it's still a journey, and I'm looking forward to explore that again. So just kind of FYI. And again, folks, you don't have to like prescribe to me. You don't have to prescribe to my course or any of this program, but you can go on this journey by yourself as well. Just take whatever you learned from this and just apply. That's it. That's it. I'm not saying you necessarily need me, but for those who this does seem exciting, and I know I'm excited about this. We have some exciting events coming up. May 3rd is going to be the Real Power BI final presentations. I'm super pumped about that. Mentioned that date earlier. May 7th, we're going to open applications for the Pro Plus program again. And I already know a few changes we're going to make to it. And thanks to this group. And we're going to extend our initial group as well. I haven't officially announced that to them, but I know we're going to do that. And we're also doing an exciting 5-day Power BI challenge. And this is all new. I'm going to be working the next few weeks to create this from scratch. And what we're doing in the 5-day Power BI challenge this time is basically we're bringing in, believe it or not, we're bringing in a real Power BI project in there. So you'll get a little bit of feel of that, a little curated, because we're kind of, how they reenact a scene? That's what it's like. So we're going to reenact that whole real Power BI experience for you. All right, folks. So I've talked enough. Hopefully some of that made sense. And let's go back and check in with the comments. So let me know what you think. And I know there's a bit of lag, so when I ask this question, it's going to be 30 seconds before you know it. But how are you doing? Oh, we're doing great on time, 9:47. So that means we have plenty of time left for our questions, Q&A as well, about this topic, about just Power BI questions and all of that. So let's switch into that. And I'm going to do a few shout-outs on YouTube as well. Let's see. All right, cool. Whew, I'm going to sit down, drink some more water. see who is on. Christopher, Amar, Steve is in helping people, and started out with yep, good stuff. Zen PBI, love it. Power BI desktop is free. Yes, it is. All right, lots of questions. Let's do this. Christopher, when does a regular course open again? Oh, that's May 7th as well. Yeah, good point. Man, I feel. How about this? Let's. We usually open the call lines in kind of the end. Hey, so folks, while I'm waiting for your questions, why don't we try one thing? Oh. Okay, I'll save that. Are you guys still thinking about what I talked? Okay, I'm not seeing any new questions pop up. Let's take one more shot to see if somebody wants to dial in. So I'm going to open the phone lines, talk Power BI, and I'm going to put the link right here. Let's try that. Let's see if you have any takers for that. And again, otherwise, if you have any Power BI questions, just type them in. Oh, Steve has one. Steve, I see the link to your file. Oh, hold on.
It's just something that it's at first look, it looks to be a different behavior in Excel versus Power BI and DAX, which
my God.
I
you found
seem to come across
those
a lot.
Oh gosh, yeah,
And,
I already know two scenarios.
So if if I would defer to others if they have questions, because I think I can work through this, but it's just interesting to me, and I think it's useful to know to keep you from pulling their hair out.
Yeah.
To if it seems like it should work, and it doesn't work in Excel, try Power BI because it might work.
Yeah, it's been painful every time I've hit one of those. But yeah,
and I want to mention this too. This date goes back to what you were talking about earlier with the sort of just the persistence and not giving up. This has been the mantra of the San Antonio Spurs for 20 some odd years.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Stonecutter's Creed of pounding the rock. And it's a big Greg Popovich thing.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about him earlier.
And of course, he's the most successful franchise in sports history, the San Antonio Spurs.
Didn't know that.
Anyway, it's just basically the stonecutter who keeps hitting the rock with the hammer, and it doesn't. And on the 101st try, the stone cracks. But he knows it wasn't that
Yeah.
That's not what broke the hammer, the rock, but it was all
Yeah.
the effort that came before.
Well, yeah. So it's a delicate thing though, which I can't always understand, which is so I'm gonna say 9:53. So when to when to when to I wouldn't say give up, but we call it pivoting in our industry, which is basically changing directions, right? So when to pivot, change directions versus keep going exactly where we're going, right? So how do you know when you're hitting your head against a wall and there's a door right there, right there, and I know it's happened to me in my life where I kept banging my head against the wall, and then eventually, after a lot of cursing and stuff, I stepped to the side and said, "Oh shoot, there's a door right there. Oh, this was easy, right?" So I've had that experience, and sometimes you got
Yeah,
to persevere. How do you know the
but but
difference?
but I don't think changing direction is giving up. That's just
Yeah, that's
changing
true.
direction.
But again, sometimes you're like, well, it's not gonna work the first time. Just gotta do it again. Nobody. So to talk to us about doing the YouTube live, and there was a point when I wasn't doing it. Now it seems like almost second nature. But and now of course I see others who are really afraid of this. I was like, oh my gosh, how do I go live? How do I do it? Oh yeah, I'm gonna do it next month. I'm gonna do it next week. I'm gonna do it next year. Something like that. Like yeah, not today, tomorrow, something like that. So what they said was that your first YouTube live will be the worst one, right? And then you keep going and you'll get better. So that's kind of a simple example. But I think I've had those experiences in my life. So I'll give you two of my favorite ones. Um, J.K. Rowling, everybody knows her. I'll admit I didn't know it was a female for a long time. But J.K. Rowling, everybody knows her. Wrote Harry Potter. Does anybody know? Well, I actually only have Steve on the line. So, do you know, Steve, how many times her manuscript for Harry Potter was rejected by how many different publishing companies? Have you heard that
I'll
story?
just take a guess. I know it was a number of times. I'll say 20.
It was close. Yeah, I think it was 17 or 18. Uh, and folks on YouTube, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, so, but she kept going. She kept going. She did not give up. She did not give up. Um, but so maybe it wouldn't mean wrong to the first time or the second time or the third time or the fifth time to say, you know what, maybe I didn't hit the mark. Let me change to something else. Let me try again. Right? It would have been okay. Would have been perfectly okay. But she didn't do that. And of course, we know the story, right? So once it all pans out, then sure, everybody's a guru. It's the Monday morning quarterback. Like, oh yeah, they should have done that. They should have done this. So that one is easy. But there's another story, and this would just give me a second to world bodybuilding champion. Oh gosh, who's wiki under the Wikipedia? Mr. Olympia, I think that's it. So let's. I want to see the winners. Winners. Yep, there we go. Oh yeah, boy, way back. So this guy, man, I think it was. I think it was. Let's see what they look like. Phil Heath. Phil Heath. Yeah, Phil Heath. Phil Heath. So he dominates the industry, right? So, Mr. Olympia. He dominates this industry. Oh my gosh, he won for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, I can't count. 6, 7 years, I think. 7 years in a row. I think he tied a record or something or got close to it. So Philly dominates the industry, but his story is he was a basketball player. He was a basketball player, and he could have done a J.K. Rowling. He could have said, "No, no, no, I'm gonna keep going. I'm not. It's not really working out for me now, but I just gotta give it more, right? I just gotta give it more." But he didn't. He said to himself that, I'm kind of above average at basketball. I'm not great, right? And what if I try something else, right? So he gave up on basketball. So again, I mean, depends on how you define it. He obviously tried something else, but so he pivoted, changed direction, whatever, right? But he did do that, and then he moved on to bodybuilding, and the rest is history, right? So again, in hindsight is always 2020, right? So in hindsight is always 2020, but when you're in the situation, how do you know? How do you know whether you need to be like J.K. Rowling or you need to be like Phil Heath? What do you think, Steve? When you're in it, how do you know? Are there any clues? I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think it sort of depends what your end goal is. I mean, if in Phil Heath's case,
yeah,
maybe I mean, to be say a professional basketball player, I don't know how tall he is. Uh,
yeah,
I just don't know what his level of success was in basketball, if it was
yeah,
realistic or
yeah.
not. I mean,
Uh
look, I
huh.
mean, I
Yeah,
can never give up. I'm never going to be a pro basketball player.
yeah,
Forget it.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's a good, yeah,
you gotta be realistic, and maybe he's
yeah,
predisposed to muscle growth. Maybe he enjoys it, and
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. It's
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of
kind of
variables, but again, I mean,
it's not
it
easy.
couldn't have been an easy decision for him. I mean, when he was doing basketball, I think he played college, um, and at that time he was totally committed to it, right? I mean, man, I see my son, and he's like totally committed to soccer, and I don't want to take like one thing away from him. I was good for him. So
No, you take it
yeah,
as far as you can, and
yep,
if you want to make a profession out of it, you got to be have a knack for it at least. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you know,
So I'll call out what you said, and I think you've mentioned these things before, right? So success is a combination of three things, right? One is oh gosh, I think
it,
something that you like doing, right? And something that you're actually good at. So if you just like doing playing basketball, but you're terrible at it, then it's not going to work. And the world needs, right? So if I don't know if you're passionate about something and you're really good at it, but the world doesn't need it, then yeah, it's not going to go anywhere. Um, I'll say my
well,
yeah.
that's a subjective thing of whether the world needs it or not. I
Ooh,
mean,
you can create the need. Is that
who
what you're saying?
I mean, like, a person could be a some sort of uh, musician or in the arts, and there'd be people that would argue the world doesn't need that. There's enough
Uh,
of that.
yeah. Well,
You know,
there's an
I,
well, there is one easy test for this though, my friends. I really think so. Again, I mean, yeah, if they're willing to pay for it, I don't know. Isn't it as simple as that?
I don't know. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know that you have to be uh, in order to be
Yeah.
successful, that there has to be some monetary aspect to it.
Yeah, that's true. So well, let's just say that's one way to test it. If they're paying for it, then well, we can generally assume that the world needs it. But yeah, there are other ways.
No, sure. No, I agree. I
Yeah,
agree if
yeah.
they're
So
paying
that's
for it.
one way. That's not the only way. Great. I'll say again in my limited experience, I still think about this, but what I felt was this J.K. Rowling Phil Heath, like which path to take. For me, I've been greatly helped by coaches and community. So of course, I was in my business, and I call myself the accidental entrepreneur. Never planned on doing this, and I'm like, what? I guess this is happening. And uh, gosh, there were a lot of lessons learned. Um, and yeah, I couldn't have done it without the business coach and who helped me, and without the community of kind of entrepreneurs that both were, and they helped me guide through many of these, where I had both of these moments where I was ready to give up, and they said, no, 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 challenge J.K. Rowling. I mean, they didn't say it that way, but yeah, they said keep going, and they also helped me do this. I'm like, no, Avi, what are you doing, man? Just that's not it. That's not your thing. Why do you keep going at it? Just do that instead. And I went,
Hmm.
oh, the face palm. So yeah, because sometimes, so I've heard this. I love this phrase. So this was in a. So this was um, uh, uh, so the phrase was like, I'm trying to read the label on the wine bottle, but I'm inside the bottle. right? And in a way, we're all like that. We're inside us. We can't see ourselves. So that's where something like this. So again, that may not be the only way, but that's one way which is gonna help me solve this dilemma when I've needed help. Cool. I have no idea what we were talking about. I don't know how we got here. All right, cool. So hey, we're gonna park your question if that's okay for a little bit, and check in with Sean, who's been patiently waiting. Sean, what's up, my friend? Let's see if you have audio. Hopefully, you have muted me on YouTube, so we're not gonna hear an echo.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Hi,
Awesome.
Avi. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you today?
Good, good. Enjoyed your talk today so far.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. All right. What do you do you have a question for us? Do you want to share something?
Yes. I'm gonna send you a OneDrive link in the comment. I
All
removed
right.
HTTPS just in case.
Okay. And it's something that I can put up on the screen. Can I share the
Yes.
file with the world or no?
Yes, yes, you can. I
Nice.
re- removed the sensitive info, so it's all good.
Okay, got it. Yes. Oh, so Gene, what is the process to join the highest level group? We do it based on applications, and I don't want to make it sound like it's like a hurdle. You got to go through the Avi test or something. Is basically, I think it's a unique program, so we just want to get on the phone with you and talk and make sure that it's a good fit for both of us. That well, I'm I'm seeing, yeah, if you're gonna be the right fit for the program what I have in mind, and you get to do the same. You get to hear from me more details about the program. So yeah, that's the way we had done it last time. I think we're gonna repeat the same thing. Okay, got it. All right. So let's say let me go get the files. Oh, Mr. Olympia. There's a documentary about Phil Heath and his arch rival. Uh, yeah, that person, Kai, I think is his name. Oh gosh, he's pretty legendary too. So we came across Phil Heath's and Kai's story on a Netflix documentary. I would definitely highly recommend that. Um, yeah, pretty powerful. All right, let's. Oh no, it's not October. It's April 19th. Yes, there we go. Oh, you have the date. Yep, cool. All right, so we're downloading the
And if you don't
file.
mind to share your screen.
Yes, let's do that. Hold on. So let's go back over here and share this guy.
Okay.
All right, did the file open? Oh, I think it's opening here. So while that's opening, maybe tell me a little bit about your question. I just want to write some notes.
Sure. So a bit hard to explain, but
Okay.
what it is I have um, a fact table that has deliveries. It's like volume,
Okay.
and I have another fact table that has kilometers. So this is, if you can think about it,
Yeah.
it's trucks that deliver
Got it.
either water or fuel or what have you.
Yeah.
And then there is a table that there's a GPS system that's tracking their kilometers. Okay.
Got it.
So two fact tables. What the client wants is a measure that calculates the volume per kilometer. Okay. So it's the total volume from the fact table on the left divided by the total kilometers from the fact table on the right.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay. So here's the thing though. Not every truck will have deliveries or will have volume, and not every truck will have kilometers. So
Mhm.
if you look at the report tab on the left here, I have an unfiltered table, just the way
Okay.
it is.
Yeah.
And you can see some trucks don't have
Yeah.
volume, and some trucks don't have kilometers. Okay,
Yeah.
so for those cases, those need to be filtered out.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
and I have done that using a visual level filter, where I said if the kilometers is blank, I don't
Yeah.
want to see it,
Yeah.
and if the total volume is blank, I don't want to see it.
Got it.
Okay. Now on the bottom right-hand corner of the right table is the filtered one.
Mhm.
It shows the total volume per kilometer is 82.59. Okay, so that is the correct number that we want.
Okay. Got it.
Problem is the client wants a card, okay, not a table
Mhm.
showing 82.59.
Yeah.
But when I put the measure in a card, I'm only getting 33.77, which is what you see on the left,
Okay.
and it is so I'm trying to apply the same filters
Mhm.
within that,
Yeah.
and that's the part I'm getting stuck at. And I did an attempt using
Yeah.
a try measure,
Got it.
but it's not working.
Okay. Terrific. Man, that's well laid out, and I think I got everything for now. So folks, man, Sean was clearly prepped. Normally, I'll just walk through the process. So first thing you saw me do is that I always open the relationship diagram, and Sean, he didn't need any cues from me at all, because that's exactly where he started as well. So when you're debugging for yourself or for somebody else, let's just start there. So here he gave me a sense of the data, and again I'm gonna kind of recap it just to internalize it. So we got two data tables: delivery, GPS data, and in one way everything looks like AdventureWorks to me. So I've spent so much time in there. But yeah, this is two data tables, so this could be sales budget, and of course in our measure we have you can do measures across data tables. That's great. In fact, that's incredibly powerful. Of course, in sales versus budget, you can calculate variance, you can calculate percentage variance. So it's pretty classic. It's nothing new, nothing novel. So that's all good. Now, of course, so yeah, I got the lay of the land, and of course, then Sean kind of showed us the specific problem. Um, so so my gut feel here is that, oh gosh, so there is, I feel like an X function should solve it, or we just go say calculate this truck by truck. And I wonder if you should just try that and see how that works. Now, of course, the other part, sometimes I'm not a huge fan of throwing darts. So and so sometimes people are like, "Oh, this is not working. Let me try that." And I don't want you to approach it that way. And even if we solve it, sometimes it's worth it to come back and understand, like, uh, well, actually, in this case, it makes sense. I was going to say to understand why this is giving a different number, and that part actually is not a mystery, because that 33.77 is unfiltered. So okay, cool. So I'm gonna put that away. But again, you saw a little bit of my thinking, like before diving in, like, oh, let's solve it this way, or let's try this, let's try that. I want to understand why it's not working. So 33.77 is, so I always say that Power BI is always right. I mean, sometimes, oh, it's giving me the wrong result. I'm like, no, it's not. So it's always giving you the right result, and but sometimes it's not what we expect, and that's different. So it's like, oh, but I expect it. I want it to do this. So cool. We'll change that. Uh, so let's just dive in. Let's just take a crack at SumX, and then maybe we'll come back and talk more. What? Yeah. So do I need to look at it to calculate volume? Okay, cool. So, oh, interesting. So this is uh I'm not really sure why it is giving an error. Okay, we'll come back and do it later. So what if we said, so volume per kilometer, and we're saying I don't want to consider where total volume or total km is null. It's coming from different tables. Okay, let's just try the sum x and see how that works. So volume per km, new v1 v2. Let's say v2. Oh boy, yeah, but by it's by truck. Some trucks have volume, some trucks do not. Okay, so we're gonna say x. Are we saying sum x volume per km? Maybe calculate. Yeah, we're not summing something up. Huh. Oh, I see. So you want to ignore if the total volume is blank or total km is blank. Let's try that. So we'll say filter trucks, got it. Filter trucks, and we're gonna say not is blank total volume and not is blank total km. So give me that table, and for that table alone calculate volume per km. Why is it not happy? Filter. Oh, maybe. Oh, oops. Not. So need a bracket there, and I think I need a bracket. So not is blank, and I need to close the filter function. Okay, that looks good. What does this give me? Oh, that's. Oh, shoot. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, I forgot the calculate syntax. All right. You know, the oddest thing is that it actually is backwards. So when you calculate and you specify parameters to calculate, if I can have more, you can have as many as you want. Those are calculated first, and then this math is done. So in a way, I was writing it the right way. All right, cool. So let's just try it. So here, maybe I can just swap it. 82.59. All right, cool. So we got an answer. Now we can go two ways. One,
you made it look too easy.
yeah. One, we can look into the measure and see if there are other ways to do it. And I'll tell you why we would even consider that. The other one is we can look at the model. All right. So again, I'm just frankly thinking out loud, and of course, I kind of get to do it on this call, which is actually, truth be told, guys, it's been really helpful for me because I'm always learning as I'm teaching. So again, I'm thinking about two things. One, can we optimize the measure? Can we do it differently? And the second question is, can we optimize the model? Is this the right model? So let me ask you about that. So if this is about a delivery, and just because the GPS data is, maybe is coming from a different system, maybe it belongs in the same table. So tell me a little bit more about what's happening here, and especially the scenario where, like, why would somebody have volume as blank? I guess they're traveling empty. That kind of makes sense. But then they can have volume and not total kilometers. Is that means they haven't taken that trip yet. So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, good question. Because I thought about also solving it through through Power Query in the model, but it was something where I had to lose some information. So what it is not all deliveries, not all trucks have GPS system on them.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. And then
okay.
And then on the other side, not every truck that has a GPS system does deliveries. So, for example, there could be service trucks. Service trucks don't do deliveries.
Service trucks. Tell me more. Just curious. Like, give me an example. Like, what would they be out
So,
doing?
like a service truck is like it would be like a regular van that goes to a customer and fixes their system. So they have they have a GPS on it, but it's not a truck that actually delivers volume.
Got it. So some trucks do not have GPS. I'm gonna write that down. So folks, you've seen me do this in on Talk Power BI, and pretty much every single call that I do with my class as well. Excuse me. And of course, so even I didn't realize that I thought I was doing it to kind of document the Talk Power BI what happened, and that's true. But then I realized when I'm working with clients, I also do this. So I do feel that kind of note taking is a good thing to do. So when you're working with your own model or with a client or anything like that, I would say take notes. And sometimes the oddest thing is that just by the act of taking notes, you understand it a little deeper, and it sticks a little more. It's been proven by research. So even if you don't go back and read your notes, like if you're anything like me, and that happens to me quite often, where I would go to a conference or something and I'm really excited, take a lot of notes, but then never go back and look at them. Rest assured that just the act of taking notes just helps it understand better. So note taking is a critical part of Power BI consulting in my mind, and that also helps you detect the some of the key things that we have talked about, which is actually what Power BI modeling is. It's identifying the decision points, identifying the assumptions you're making, and so forth. All right, cool. So some trucks do not have GPS. Do not have GPS, and some trucks do not do delivery. Service trucks. Okay, so we got that. All right, so let me go back here. But yeah, I still feel that this data should be combined in a single table. Oh, wait. I think it could it be combined? Well, what would it look like? So for one, what is this delivery truck ID? It seems like a unique ID which identifies this truck, but also unique delivery. One truck can have many deliveries. So that's what Del Truck ID is. And I see the same thing here. There's delivery ID and truck ID. Is this just a combination of these two?
Yeah, but this one is only available for certain trucks. I only populated the delivery ID for the trucks that deliver.
Yeah. So now, of course, you realize that you could combine this into one table, right? I mean, you could go in Power Query, delivery, merge using delivery to this truck, and then bring that in, and what you're saying will still hold. When you merge these two, obviously the KM stuff is only gonna show up where it's valid. It's not gonna start showing up for everybody, right? But you could bring that into the same table. Does that part make sense? You could do that.
I think you're right. I think I can make another table that's flat, but I was a little bit worried that I would lose some info. I'm not sure. I can't articulate it now, but I was worried that I might lose something.
Yeah, well, I think if you don't do it right, then you can. But and again, what I would do is I wouldn't create like a third table. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting you don't need kind of these two. You need a new one, which would just kind of puts this data on here. Yeah.
No, because then if I want to get, let's say, another measure that shows the total kilometers for service trucks, then I would lose it, right? Because if it gets if it gets joined
Yeah.
Okay, no, I see what you mean. So it's not. So it would be like a full outer joint type of joint. Okay.
Well, so hey, we're the masters, right? That's why love the query editor. It's the kitchen. So when we merge, we can add a field in there. And I often do that where we can add a custom field where we can say, I don't know, delivery type or something like that. Let's say delivery type. And we will say, hey, service. And when you merge this in, and in this new table, so we're gonna get rid of this table, merge all of this in. You're gonna have the delivery ID and truck ID, which is essentially the same thing. Um, Date, I imagined. Oh gosh, actually, I'm not really sure if it's gonna be a merge or append. I would have to look at your data. Um, well, maybe a bit of yeah,
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
what
I
about?
see. Oh, no, you know what? I got it. I got what you're saying
Yeah,
about the outer join. Yeah, so
yeah.
you're gonna keep both in, but then maybe you have, so if this signifies only delivery, this is delivery. I think you would probably add oh gosh, yeah. So if this is only delivery, you would add del type delivery, and then man, I'm still tripping over whether you merge or append. Maybe you would that is there any commonality between, like, is there a delivery truck ID on this side which would also show up on this side, or no? They're like disjointed set, right? They're no, they're totally different sets.
Yeah. The difference is you can't.
Okay, got it,
I
got it.
can't
Perfect,
do
awesome.
an append. Yeah, it has to be side by side, not on top of each other. Which is sometimes I forget. Append is stacking,
Yeah.
or
Well, if
yeah.
they're
No, it can't
unique,
be stacked.
yeah. So if these don't get repeated here, then of course you can't do a merge. It'll do nothing. Then you're doing stacking. Then you're doing append. So that's what it feels like to me right now. That you stack them together, and then you add a custom field before you stack them. That way you can differentiate them. So when you want to see, yeah, total, yeah, yeah. So that would give you, that would retain that. So I feel, and again, this is where it gets a little tricky. Like, do you merge the tables or not? And this is one of those classic debates: merge, whatever, append, combine. Let's say combine the tables or not. And this is one of those classic debates in data modeling. Now, I do, um, well, there are a few factors. I'm going to list out a few. One thing that I look for is apples or oranges, and that one I'll admit doesn't look good in this case, even though my gut feel is taking me towards combining these tables. But what I look for is that sometimes if you look at the columns, they're almost the same, uh, but there are very few differences. Now, again, this one is borderline. This one isn't bad. Like, we do have a lot of commonality. We do have, like, date is same. I think delivery date, maybe that's it. So delivery date is the same. Delivery ID, truck ID is also here. So we have some commonality, but then not that much. So that one is kind of a toss-up, kind of even, right? And then what else would you look for when combining? Would you so if they look different, like structurally, like field wise. The other one is, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck. So this one is again kind of subjective, but does it feel like the same thing? So obviously, like when you look at sales and budget, I mean, generally feels different, although even that can be combined, is often combined in a single table. In fact, they combine both actuals, budget, and forecast in a single table. So that's being done as well. But what you look for is it like, are they both? So I try to relate it to the physical world, like physically what happened. Well, maybe in both cases a truck went out, right? A truck, went somewhere, and so in that case, in my mind, it feels like the same thing. Like, basically it's the same thing that's happening. It's just the type that's different. Like, some trucks are service trucks and some trucks are making deliveries, but essentially it's the same thing. So that's what I want to look like. So if both, like, walk like a duck, talk like a duck, then I'm like, well, yeah, let's just call it duck and put them together. And there's a third criteria as well, which is often not relevant in most cases, but it's good to understand that as well, which is performance. And being able to understand when the model may perform better if it's split into separate table versus one table. And again, for most models, this is not going to be an issue. And performance, generally, as long as you're following best practices and being conscious about modeling, not just pulling in data and calling it good, right? You're thinking about the data tables and lookup tables, which you are. I can see that just the way you structured it. Usually, I don't worry about performance. Like if it's not broken, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That gets it right. I think Steve was helping me out with that last time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, but let's say that this data set was humongous. It was, I don't know, hundreds of millions of rows, close to a billion, something like that. Then at least understand that which one would perform better. And that one is a little tricky. Let me think through that. So it does do column compression. Now, of course, you can try it. You don't have to think about it. You can just test it, right? So what you're going to do is you can have one version which has two separate tables. And again, with a small data set, it'll almost be imperceptible. But just, we're just having some fun right now, just a theoretical exercise. If this was a large data set, then, you can just test it. But theoretically, oh gosh, would it? Actually, I don't know. I don't know if you can solve it theoretically. I think you just have to test this one.
Yeah. Can I just interject with something?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you wanted to do a merging between the two tables, like, doesn't it have to be done on the truck ID and the date simultaneously?
Well, I really think that in your case, it's an append, not merge.
So it's stacking on top of each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Because the key thing is that do these delivery IDs, do these show up here? I don't think they do. I think it's like what's called a disjointed set. Like this set is totally different than this. Like if I look for a date, a delivery ID, and truck ID in here, I would never find them here. That's what my understanding is. And then you would append it. Yeah. So yeah, I feel you would append.
But would you be able to do that same measure, the total kilometers divided by total volume would still work?
Actually,
by truck?
Oh, actually, it might work better. It might work better. Oh my gosh, Sean. Thank you. Oh my gosh, gold star, folks. So because I didn't realize what I was walking into, and let me just write something here. So what were we talking about? What about? Oh gosh. So what we're talking about here is. There's so much goodness. How do I recap it? Let me just go with a question. So volume per kilometer, but only for non-blank rows. Let's just go with that. Okay, performance. So, gosh. So this is I didn't expect this is going to go there at all. So performance, when I was talking about this, what I was talking about really was the size of the model. And that is simple, my friends. You just save the PBIX file and let's see how big it is. And again, this one is sample data, so I don't expect it to be big. Not this folder, but let's go to, where did I place it? Let's try this. Let's go back here. I have no idea. Oh, maybe I didn't save it. Let's put it here. Oh, I got it. Let's do the modified. All right. So this is. I was looking at the size. So this one is 2.6 megabytes. And again, sample data is small, and maybe the real data set would be small itself. But let's imagine a bigger data set. And then what I was talking about here was when I said test the size of the model, I would do one version where tables are combined. Actually, let's start with tables are separate, and just see what is the size, right? So what is the size, and then I'll do v2, and I'll say, man, if somebody has ideas on, can you do this like a theoretical exercise? I know I can't, not right now at least. I will say my gut feel is that the combined tables would be more compact, but I can't really say. So basically,
In general,
mm-hmm.
like in general, the more columns, the bigger the file is, because it can do
Yeah,
compression on the rows
yeah, I
very
see what you're saying. Yeah,
very quickly if it's unique. But
yeah,
generally, I guess
yeah, yeah,
that's
and of
my
course,
my intuition.
yeah. And I think the catch here is that in your case, it's an append, and I think since an append, it might be less optimal. My gut feel is that if it's a merge, maybe it'll be different. Like, so. But anyway, testing. Let's just fall back to that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I'll
basically,
try both.
yeah,
I'll try both and,
yeah.
and
So
get back to you on the next talk.
oh, that would be really interesting. So can I just be really curious and say, do you know what is a real data set? Like how many rows? Just give me a sense of rows if you can.
It's about um, it's about half a million rows
Okay. Okay.
on the deliveries, and I forgot
All
what
right.
the GPS was.
Yeah, that's big enough that it might at least be noticeable. So it'll be worth the experiment. Sometimes if it's small enough, it's not even noticeable. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, separate and combine. In this case, you're definitely using append in this case. So and the size of the model is an indicator of performance. It's not the only one, but generally, Power BI, this whole technology, and whether you see it in Power Pivot or you see it in PowerBI.com or you see it in on-prem report server, all of those are memory resident technology. So what that means is it loads the whole thing into memory. Now, of course, not all technologies are. Most of the old technologies, for example, database management systems, right? So DBMS, they're not memory resident because these are pretty ancient in terms of technology. These are really old technologies, and at that time, memory was really expensive and really small. Like you had so you had to optimize the heck out of the memory. You can only keep so much in the memory. So these were pretty much disk based, right? And it had all this, this whole thing about how the disk worked and how the spindle spun and all that stuff, and everything was optimized with that, and which of course doesn't work well in the modern world. But Power BI thankfully is optimized for the new world where it's like, nope, memory and we can access everything. There's no spindle which is spinning. Now, of course, once in a while we're going to run out of memory and then you're going to have to page to disk, and that does become a real problem because the model assumes pretty much that everything is in memory. So the size of the model therefore becomes the size of the model when it's loaded in memory. And yeah, so if you have a big model which takes a lot of memory space, it makes it more likely that it's going to end up being paged and paged to disk and so forth. So generally, this is a good indicator, very good indicator, the size of the model. And again, I mean, I'm not saying that you not pull in data. I love pulling in data as much as I can, right? I mean, if I have 10 years of history, I want to pull in 10 years of history because those therein lie my insights. So, but of course, we're talking about kind of optimizing it and seeing whatever we can do best, keeping all the data we need. So we can try it this way. So that's what I was talking about. But then there's this other thing, which is performance of the measure, and that's a totally different thing. So let's dive in there a little bit, and let's talk about this. So we don't have the combined model, and I don't have the underlying file, so I can't do it in a hurry. So let's imagine we do have these v1 and v2, right? So let's come back here, and folks, let's go in here, and we're gonna write v1 and v2. Oh boy, I'm excited. So let's come back here, and volume per kilometer. Well, I call it v2. I should call it something else. So this was volume per kilometer by Avi. Let's go with that. And of course, you've heard the joke by Marco Russo that folks was not a DAX measure. Oh gosh, I'll find this. Sorry, there it is. He said, "Oh, unless you format it, it's not a DAX measure." So now it's formatted, and we're just gonna copy that. And so this is our V1. That did not work as expected. So this is V1. This is separate tables. All right. So let's see. How would we write it in a single table? So first of all, I just want to be really clear what a single table would look like. Right. So single table. So what a single table would look like. I'm just going to do it. I don't know how many. Let's try that many. So single table is going to have, let's say, the date and the truck ID and the delivery ID. And let's get rid of this for a second. And then it's going to have volume. And then it's going to have kilometer. And let me go back and see if there anything else in there. So we got the date, delivery ID, truck ID. There's unit number, volume. Oh, okay, cool. That's date, delivery, truck, kilometers. Oh, that's good. So maybe unit number. That's it.
Hey, Avi.
Yeah.
I just remembered why I didn't combine them. Now I was thinking more merge than append, but it's because they're at a different grain. So the GPS data is by the date, but the deliveries, as you see, delivery ID. So you can have multiple deliveries in a day. By the truck.
But what is this? I assume that this was a combination of delivery ID and truck ID, like.
Okay. No, sorry, that was my bad. That Dell truck ID is the truck ID from the trucks table at the top. That was there just to have a common dimension or a common lookup table.
Oh, okay. So this is just truck ID. It is just this guy.
Yeah.
So
it's
combining. It's not on a delivery by delivery basis. It's okay. Got it. Wow. Hey, thanks for that. Let's put that in there. So even if it is the same thing, if they are both ducks. Are they at the same grain? Yeah, that's a good one. Now, of course, this happens all the time in sales and budget, actuals versus budget, if you will. They're never at the same grain. I mean, actuals is daily, it's by product SKU level. Budget is you don't do a daily budget. No company that I know does that. And it's not at product SKU level as well. You do it much higher, maybe by department, something like that. And they can be combined. So that doesn't rule it out, but that is certainly a factor in here. So man, let's
but I think it's okay just to assume that they are, and keep going
and
for
we'll
now.
get back to that, because this is still kind of an interesting exercise. So let's say they are the same grain and so forth, and I'm just gonna do truck ID 001, delivery ID ABC, unit number U1 something like that, and volume is 100, kilometer is blank, and we also we might add. We were talking about a custom column, which we might add. And again, I'm not 100% convinced. Oops, what am I trying to do? Ignore. Oh shoot, I don't know how to. Okay, whatever. Spelling, ignore. Okay, so delivery type, we might say this one is delivery, and the other one, what are we gonna call
it? Service.
Service. So can I ask? So, there are some. Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, you might be stuck with a different grain, but okay, cool. So, okay, got it. So, okay, so it might look something like this: and 02, and ID 2T, something like that. U74, and volume maybe blank, kilometer maybe 50, And then of course we will have something like this, where a third truck, and and volume maybe 200, and this time the truck would have a GPS as well. And right, so does that, if the data was at the same grain, then it could look something like
Yes.
this, right? Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yes.
So let's see if we can rewrite or measure based on that. So so let's say V2 combined table. V2 combined table. V2, let's go with that. So what would I say then? So instead of using filter, what I can say is calculate table. I'm just gonna go with that and maybe come back and refine it. Maybe it doesn't need to be calculate table, maybe it can be filter. Calculate table, and I'll say, oh, interesting. Whoa. So this, what do we call this? Let's call this single table. Let's call this, I don't know, truck data. Okay, so we'll say, oh yeah, actually no, I don't. I guess I hit a dead end. It's not. Is it gonna work? What I was gonna try was truck data, where volume is not blank. But that's not gonna work. That's not gonna give us the right answer, I realize. Or maybe it will. Hold on. So again, we're going with some assumptions. Actually, you can't do and in calculate table. We'll say truck data kilometer is not blank. So let's again, for now, let's just assume that the data is at the same grain, just by delivery basis. So if I say I want to filter out this table, and if either the kilometer is blank or the volume is blank, that's going to be fine, right? And then operate volume by kilometer. Yeah, I think this is going to work.
Yeah, and I think we may have to add like where delivery type is equal to delivery, or maybe not.
No, I mean,
You know.
yeah, I mean, our
Yeah,
final number
because-
here in this was
Yeah.
spans both of them, so 82.59.
This one did it on its own. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh wow, I'm actually realizing that this formula, the formula that we want, would never include anything in here, right?
You mean the second version?
Oh, actually, no, yeah, that's not right. I mean,
Yeah, because
yeah.
the second version would be just one table, right?
Yeah, but this one does have GPS data. This one is mixed, right? I mean, earlier, I think I messed up. I said the delivery type is going to be service, but that's not true. You don't really know the delivery type here, right? It could be.
Yeah.
It could be a delivery or a service.
Yeah, it's like it's if a truck has. Yeah, that's right. We don't actually. Well, at least in the way that I set it up, we don't know.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So folks, I mean, you see the fun here, and of course that's the part that I enjoy with Power BI and working with real data sets, because there are always these nooks and crannies, and of course what happens is you get tripped up in these nooks and crannies, and that's never fun. Being in a dark corner and I don't know, with rats running around or something, it's never fun, and that's where I think, yeah, I mean, just being able to get some help, it's priceless. So cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a better feel of this data. And but let's come back to our theoretical scenario now, where everything is spick and span. It's the same detail level, the same grain, and we're able to combine it. So then I could write it using, say, calculate data, truck data, like this. Or how else could I write it? If I know that it's really only service types are never ever going to be counted in my calculation. Am I right? Right, because service is never going to have any volume. Fair enough.
That's right.
Yeah, so
that's
this
right. But your filter takes care of that, right?
That's true.
If the truck volume is not blank.
That is true. But still, I could say, I could say this. So if truck volume delivery type is not service, so exclude those, and then
Just to be safe. Yeah.
and the kilometers is blank. So that'll exclude anything like this, but when it's delivery type and kilometer is blank, we won't exclude those. So we don't need to check delivery type again. We just say, hey, kilometer is not equal to blank. So we do that. Great. And then yeah. So both will give us the same result. Now, of course, both of these are returning tables. You can't return a table in a measure, but I think we can do the same thing that we did earlier, which is so calculate. Oh boy, we can use this using a variable, can we? Yes. Oh boy, that I'm excited now. So maybe how do I do these guys? Let's just pick this one. So actually we can do both now that we're using variables. And I hope variable filter 1 equals this. Let's do a little bit smaller. So we say var filter 1 equals this, and we'll say var filter 2 equals this guy. And I may not actually write it, because I know in M language, if a step isn't used, then it's not calculated. I don't really know how it works in DAX, that if I don't use a variable, does it still calculate the variable? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. So again, this is just still me kind of trying things out. Okay, cool. So let's see. So we got both of these, right? Got it. So return, and then I'll say calculate, and then I'll write the same pattern as before. So I'll write this, and then I'll say with, and I can choose anyone, filter 1 or filter 2. All right. So oh boy, this is good stuff. And all right, nice. Now of course. Okay, which one is better? And again, we're like purely in theoretical realm now, because it's data set, it's likely not big enough that it's not going to matter. But hey, good learning opportunity. So
Can I give you just one more bit to see if this would work? Because you have a single. Okay, so if you can just create this measure for me. So if you just said calculate. And then volume per kilometer.
Yeah.
And then the first filter is a column filter, whereas basically volume is not blank, and kilometer, and then a kilometer is not blank.
Got it.
Just a simple. So.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Oh,
so directly, without having to do tables first.
Yep, I got it. Actually, now I feel dumb about the calculate table.
No, it's okay, because I actually learned something. Because I never knew that you can put a table inside of like a variable before.
Yeah, and of course you could have done this where this still would have worked. Calculate table. Yeah, but you're right. That's not needed. I got too fancy. So all of these variations would be valid as far as I can tell.
Yeah, but still, I learned something. So even though you did it, it's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of how I would do it. Oh, wow, thank you. So yeah, it's simple. So say calculate this where to these conditions. Okay, cool. So and yeah, so basically they're all versions of the same thing. So I don't expect. Yeah. So let's see if we compare this with this one. So Sean, do you have a clue? Like, what would you look at when looking at kind of performance? Obviously, you can test it. You can test it using DAX Studio. You can see how long it takes and that sort of stuff. But just by the gut feel, do you know what you would look for?
I feel like this is one of those classic things that you talked about, which is the trade-offs. Is whether whether do you want most of the processing done when you refresh and it gets loaded into the model, or when the measure gets calculated on the fly. Because
Yeah.
if you can wait for a longer query refresh and then
Yeah.
loading into the model, then your
Yeah.
measure is faster.
Ooh.
Or do you want the other way around? Do you want fast loading and then you want
Yeah.
slower measure calculation?
Yeah, that's good. That's an excellent point. So sometimes that is true. It's exactly how it is. So sometimes you can do some stuff in the query editor, and that's going to make it go faster. Um, and now, of course, I always caution against doing any kind of math in the query editor. I mean, again, it's just a guideline. If you break it, there are only two things. You need to be aware that you're breaking it. Like, oh, I'm not doing something that's typical. And you need to be able to answer why you're breaking that. I can do stuff in query editor to speed up measure, but avoid math in query editor generally. All right, cool. So that is the case. So in this case, though, I think you're like one step ahead, where we know that this scenario takes more work in the query editor. We know that, right? But I think there's an assumption that by doing that work there, this will be faster. So, right? I mean, you see, you're already a step ahead, where you're kind of assuming, I guess, that V2 is faster. We don't really know. I mean, we don't know yet. So I'll just, and again,
I guess
hey,
you're right. Yeah.
right? So I'll just give you, again, I'm going to think out loud, and hopefully it'll help. Is that, what do I look for? So first of all, whenever you can write something like this with what I call a simple calculate, it is generally a good idea, right? So here, what about this? Let's go back to this one. Could I rewrite this one? And oh gosh, I'm gonna go back to the unpretty measure just so I can fit it into a line. So let's go back to this guy, and let's come back here, and could I write this as instead of a filter? Could I write this as just this, not blank, comma this?
So this is what I tried in my
Yeah.
try measure, but
Yes.
but I had a different syntax. Like I didn't
Yeah.
do the not is blank. I
You
loaded
use the
my
variables.
volume into a variable
Yes.
and my kilometer into a variable, but then
Yeah.
it gave me some
Yeah.
error.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, variables. Yeah. Well, I do know that this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work because calculate only takes two kinds of parameters. One, it can take a table, right? So whatever, and obviously, here we did send it a table like filter one. It's happy with that. But when you specify some kind of a condition, especially Boolean condition, and not is blank is a Boolean condition, right? So just written differently, then it can only be table, column, value. Table, column, value. Now, of course, for those who have been in my course, I have a whole list of these where in AdventureWorks, where you say, oh, product color equals red. A customer gender equals M. And on like that, right? So any of those, it's happy. Now, if you do anything else, it's not happy, and it's going to tell you. It's going to tell you. So let's try this guy, and it has this classic error, which sometimes I intentionally make that error happen, knowing fully well that it's going to fail. So just say test equals. So calculate volume per kilometer. Not is blank, and well, it's not giving me a failure. Oh, yeah, there we go. Right, so it's a classic error. I see it all the time, but sometimes, my friends, I actually write it knowing fully well that it's gonna fail, because I don't know, it just helps me think. So, and again, you've seen me. I just go very step by step, very methodical. So I just write it out, and it's like, hey, I'm trying to do this, and then I let it fail, and then I know what this failure is saying is when you say when you use true false expression, that you use something which is a little too complicated for calculate. It cannot do it. And then I pull out the big guns, which is filter, which is an X function, right? So I only pull it out when I need to. Why is that? Why is that? Because when you're using calculate in this format, uh, it gives Power BI the best chance at optimizing the heck out of this, right? And DAX engine is incredible. I wouldn't claim to understand a small portion of it, right? So, but it's really incredible, and it does a lot of smart things in the back to give you answers really quick. It's optimized for that. And when you write it in a simple format, it gives the DAX engine the best opportunity to do that, the best opportunity. And the same way with calculate table. So calculate table, if you can write using calculate table, you're in good footing. You know that. Now, when you start going in filter, or a filter is an X function as well, so it's filter X, sum X, min X. When you start doing things like that, and when you start doing Boolean things, and if you start using the if clause, they can theoretically act as roadblocks in the DAX optimization scheme. I do know that if when you write something like an if statement, that usually just kills it dead in its tracks. Like, shoot, I can't optimize anything. I'm just gonna have to go row by row or something like that. So, and again, these are just guidelines. If you really wanted to understand how a function is working, you would have to open up DAX Studio. You'll have to look at the query plan, which I've done only a few times in my life, I'll admit, right? So, but yeah, it's all available to you. But you don't do it on a daily basis. It's yeah. But generally, the guideline is that if you can stay with calculate and calculate table, you're in a good spot. If you go with filter and all that stuff, you gotta be careful. Now, of course, the worst thing you can do, and again, sometimes if you gotta do it, you gotta do it, is what's called kind of nested X functions, right? So if you nest it inside, so you have a sum X, and within that there is a filter or something else like that, and within that, God forbid, there's a count X or something like that. Then of course it grows exponentially. If the first one is iterating over 10 rows, and the next one is iterating over 10 rows, and the next one is iterating over 10 rows, well, the whole thing is doing 1,000 iterations, right? So you see how it grows exponentially. So you got to be careful of that. Actually, let's write it down. So trade-off, you watch out for that. So watch out for X functions, iterators, especially nested ones. Ooh, boy, yeah, it grows exponentially. Exponentially. Okay. The other thing that I watch out for is iterating over what? Over what? Data table or lookup table? Ooh, iterating over what? So generally, if you're following the good modeling best practices, and again, a lot of this stuff is inside my course on my channel as well, is that you're doing like the data tables and lookup tables. So these ones are the data tables, and let's make them pink. These ones are awesome lookup tables. Now, lookup tables are short and wide. They're going to have lots of columns, and they're pretty text heavy, and that's okay. These ones are narrow. They usually don't have that many columns. They usually just have keys and then numbers and stuff like that. So narrow, but they're tall. They have lots of rows, and they grow really fast. I mean, every day you can have hundreds of deliveries, millions of deliveries. Who knows, right? Depends on the size of the business, but they grow really fast. So they have a lot of rows. So if you're iterating over something, wouldn't you rather iterate over a short table? So let's say you have 100 customers. I would rather iterate over that than 100 customers have generated 100 million rows in sales, right? So easy choice, right? So that's what you look for, is which one is it iterating over, data table or lookup table. Now, of course, if I look at these two, the ones we're comparing, these are a mixed bag, so I can't make up my mind. So let's unfortunately, can I keep my principles on the side? Unfortunately, I can't. Okay, anyway, so the rules that we talked about. So this one uses an iterator, whereas this one doesn't. Wow, I think, yeah, I'm leaning towards V2. Yeah, V2 is
So
probably going to be better.
so so
Yeah.
yeah. So you said filter before is the same thing as like filter X, right? So it's
Yeah.
iterating
Yep.
row by row. So we know
Yeah.
that's costly in terms of processing. But then when I look at the second one, the calculate, there isn't an iterator, but it is still filtering row by row because we're
Well,
giving it
yeah.
columns, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
So,
doing it, but it's optimizing. You're thinking more in the background. Is that
well, yeah. So here's the
you
thing.
might have been?
When I say iterator and it goes row by row, that's only logically. So, like when I think about filter, it's row by row. So logically it works that way. In like fact or actuality, it may or may not, right? So there are no rules. Yeah, there's no golden rule. So you can write a filter. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the way it stores. So Power BI is unique in the way that it stores the data column by column. All right, so let's look at something like this. So it stores no. Let's go back to deliveries. Yeah. So unlike database management systems, which store data row by row, and again, the different age, different technology, whatever, who cares? So this stores data by column. And the key thing here is how many unique values does the column have? Um, oh boy, I wish I had my. You know what? Maybe I'll open up my AdventureWorks file really quick. So how many unique columns it has, unique values it has. So it stores based on that. So remember the AdventureWorks example that I was talking about? When I said, if I would say calculate sales, but where product color equals red, I know for a fact that in that case, it doesn't go row by row, right? I mean,
Right,
to us
right.
humans, it may seem like row by row, but no. It since it's storing by columns, it just imagine a table of 100 million rows. It can go like in a second, like, oh, I need these 5 million, and
Yeah,
then
it's
it does
it's
something
kind
with
of
that.
like a yeah, it's kind of like a columnar index, I guess is what they call it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's that type of thing. Yeah.
yeah. Like, gosh, I don't know. It's almost like an intuitive leap. I'm trying to make an analogy, but um, uh, so if I said, um, oh gosh, yeah, I'm feeling right now. But yeah, so basically the idea is that it can. So let's go back to my trusty AdventureWorks. So in here, if I say, so let's see how it's going to store. So what it does is it goes to the table and it first figures out, and again, what it's looking for is tables which don't have that many unique values because those are the ones that can optimize the best, right? So it scans for that. So I don't really know what the answer is. Obviously, Power BI does it much faster, much better than me. But so it's going to look at a color and say, oh, color has these many unique values. Cool. I think that's called cardinality. Yeah, that's the word. And then if you look at categories, oh, look, categories has less, the cardinality is smaller. Oops, I keep doing that. I'm into Dropbox. And then it looks at model name, and well, there are quite a lot of models, right? So, and then it's going to look at subcategory. That's more than colors, maybe less than models. So what it does is it essentially sorts the whole thing by the one with the least cardinality, and accessories, bikes, clothing. So it puts accessories in one big block, bikes in one big block, clothing in another big block, and components in one big block. So it creates these big giant blocks, and then within that, it then stores by subcategory and other stuff. So now I know that when I go in and I say, give me the sales for product categories equals bikes, it's sure as hell not scanning every row because it optimized for that. It stored the whole thing in a big block. It just takes that big block and runs, right? So you can see kind of just a glimpse into how it can be much faster than yeah, humans would think, right? So yeah, that's so really, whether you see calculate or you see filter, you can never know 100% what it's doing. So, but again, you can have the guideline. You can say that by using calculate or calculate table, I'm giving it the best opportunity to optimize. Filter, it might as well still be able to optimize. I don't really know. And of course, if you really want to find out, well, of course, you can test the performance, see if which one is faster. Again, and go in DAX Studio, you can see the query plan, and they'll tell you that what is it doing. Is it using blocks, or is it using basically a scan of the table? Now, I do know that that something like this, it does slow it down. Like when you use a measure, because yeah,
Right. It's a number. It's a continuous
yeah,
number
it's
instead
just
of a category.
exactly, yeah, and it can't calculate overall. So yeah, this one, frankly, I mean, just it's just not looking really good, especially when put against this guy. Oh my gosh, it's just right. So yeah, that one isn't good.
It's almost like I have a feeling that they may be very close in terms of performance. I'll
Yeah.
test it for sure, especially because of the blank. It could handle blanks as kind of like a block of uniqueness, right?
Well,
More than
possibly, but we're making it harder for it because we're not testing. We're not testing a column. We're testing a measure, and man,
okay,
yeah. Although I will say that some points, because we're not iterating over the data table, we're iterating over trucks. So if you have, let's say, if you had 10 trucks in your fleet, or let's say 100 trucks, and you have millions and millions of deliveries, then this is not that bad, right? Because it's really iterating 100. So yeah, so that it does have that going for it, that it's not iterating over the
right.
data table. So yeah, it's got kind of a mixed bag, hard to say. But again, frankly, this whole thing was kind of a fun exercise anyway. So let's kind of recap. So for one, this doesn't quite apply to Sean because his data is not at the same grain. So it will be a challenge combining it. It can be combined, but it sometimes it doesn't work. So, but if it were at the same grain, then we did have a choice of we could keep it in separate tables, and that has its own repercussions. This is not the only repercussion. I mean, there are other repercussions to that, right? I mean, combined tables or not. So, of course, I forgot to talk about that. Man, I can't believe the good stuff we're getting out of this. So, trade-off is, and this isn't always a clear case. In some cases, the model will just be simpler, and when I'm thinking simpler for use by. So the first model that I created, man, it was. I thought I was creating it for myself, so I left a lot of weird stuff in there. This was back in the days of Excel Power Pivot, and if anybody remembers, you could not only do calculated columns, which I did do a lot of them back then, but the default name was calculated column 1, calculated column 2, and so forth. And there were stuff like that in the model. I mean, they were being used, but they were called calculated column 1, so it was nasty. And then in the well, not pretty. Let's not call it nasty. It was pretty good. But then it started to be used by hundreds and hundreds of users. So they were creating their own reports off of that. So that's always the vision that I have in mind. So that's what I look for. Like if people start creating their own reports off of that, like I provide them the model, but they're creating their own reports, are they going to find it easy? What's going to make sense to them? And again, there's no perfect answer. You're going to have to ask yourself that, or maybe ask your customers that, would it be simpler for them if I just gave them kind of this one table, or would it be simpler if they saw it separately? So again, and it does have a bearing on this question. Like generally, if they see the thing as the same thing, it's like, oh, that's a duck, then you want it to lean on one side. Cool. So again, we kind of trying to recap it. So in Sean's scenario, there is this thing about different grain, but even if that wasn't the case, and we walked on this theoretical route, that if they were to be combined, now there were lots of other things that had a bearing on this, and you should consider all of that as a Power BI modeler. And just one of those was a measure performance and how it would allow you to write a measure differently and so forth. So I'm leaning towards V2 combined table, but V1, yeah, I think given the size of the data set that Sean mentioned, they'll probably be like neck and neck almost. If you amplify that, if you 10 times that the size of the table, my gut feel is that the V2 would come out slightly ahead. Oh gosh, I had one other thought here. Okay, I'll let it go, I guess. All right, cool, Sean. So hey, good stuff. Did you have any other thoughts? Did this help? Did this help?
Oh yeah, this helped a lot. Thank you very much. I learned a lot of things besides what I was looking for. So that was awesome.
That's great. Awesome. All right, thanks for calling in. Let's see. let me check in. Oh boy, how are you guys doing? Petro's asking, is it possible to save the layout of my model? Yes, you can save it as a template. You can do that. Neat modeling, Christopher likes that. Semino Lennon, subscribe. Thank you, my friend. Also want to show KPI on a TV screen without someone manually refreshing. Ooh, yeah. Let's do that really quick. James is asking about. So, and folks, help me out. I might need a little bit of help here because there might be a few different ways to do it. What is time? 11:13. I'll just clean this. So you want to show a KPI on a TV screen without someone manually refreshing. I do know that if you use a real-time data set, real-time, not really a data set. I think it's called a stream. You can define it on PowerBI.com. Then you can it updates automatically. But if that's not the case, gosh, the only thing I can think of is a browser hack. So there are add-ins to refresh on a periodic basis. That would work. Seems like a bit of a hack, but is there another way? And of course, there's the other bonus challenge, which is, can you iterate over report pages? I've heard that, and that seems like a genuine ask. I can imagine where you have multiple report pages, and you would want just the screen to just flip from one to the other. I don't know what's the answer for that. These two do work, but yeah, on internet, if you have on YouTube, if you have any other idea. Oh, the data set. Well, that's a different thing though. So the report in both cases is so well. So I don't understand. So data set refresh, you can set it up in PowerBI.com. And what is the limit? Is it 8 times a day for Pro? And for Premium, it is 15 minutes, something like that. Or you can use a third-party tool like Power Update, and that is different because it refreshes on-prem and publishes on cloud. And you can do that in every 15 minutes or 5 minutes. I mean, it depends on how long the refresh takes. Obviously, if it takes more than 15 minutes, you can't have refresh that, but it'll work. So dataset, or of course, there's other thing which you can use direct query. Then it goes directly to the dataset. Any other ideas? One of the ways people become dashboard titles update without browser refresh. Actually, you're right. I think the titles do update. So maybe Brajendra's issue is only the dataset refresh. So I take back what I said. So dashboard tiles do update, but I'm not sure. Sometimes it's not like fast enough, but it does use caching. So it does use caching. So it's trying to minimize the work it does and so forth. So so Jen, what are you saying, Philip? You can also okay, so folks, hopefully that helped, and thanks for the folks who helped remind me that is true. And cool, Christopher, thanks for linking a video to that too. Okay, let's see. So folks, if you have any other questions, then type them in. I'm also gonna reopen the phone line, and you can call in. And Steve, I didn't forget about you. Let's go back to your questions while we wait for the other stuff. View navigation. So, folks, just to kind of recap what with Steve and help from others. One, I think I walked into. We found at least two scenarios where Excel and Power BI work differently in terms of DAX and measures. And the odd thing is that it's, of course, the next question was, why are they different? And we have talked about that in our class group as well. But for now, let's see what Steve has in store for us. Different behavior. All right, let's call that. And let me see if I have the files there. And folks, yeah, of course, you can go to talkpowerbi.com if you need any files from today's call or before that. Blup. Oh, I think it was a folder. Date diff.
There you go. Okay. So let's start with the Excel file. That's where I would.
All right. So while that's happening, so Pedro, template still seems to be the answer to me. I'm not sure. Tables and all the connections. It saves all that, but your data. Now, of course, if you're trying to copy a model and reuse it multiple times, I would question that. Why are you doing that? And hey, we're probably going to open the call lines and we can talk more. Is this thing opening? Let's try that again. Close this. Okay, so Pedro, yeah, you can just do file, save as, and then template. Try that. Okay, Excel is here. And okay, so Steve, you did say you wanted to look at Excel first, right?
Yes. So if you look at that there's the data. Okay.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Multiple users, and in the real world, there would be another column that would have something in there that's due on that date.
Yeah.
But
got it.
So all I wanted to do was create a column in the pivot table, which is sheet 2 on the tab. And this one is.
Ooh, interesting.
Ignore that date, that column to the right for the time being. I wanted to be able to compute the number of days from the due date from the current date.
Okay,
so
got it.
So today is whatever, and so I created a measure using the date diff function.
Yeah.
And you'll see if you add that to like this, if you add that measure to the, this is kind of a confusing example because I did it in the query editor too, but the measure that's the second from the bottom there, if you add that to the pivot table, it's going to blow up.
Ooh, okay. Well,
the one that says just days remaining.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah,
if you look at the code for that, you'll see that.
Okay, so if I add that. Oh wow!
Right.
Okay, I thought it was gonna like explode like tens of thousands of rows or something, but
no, your computer won't catch on fire or anything.
Cannot be greater than the end date. Okay.
Now, what if you were originally? The way I discovered this was my original data had every date in the table was in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So every days until was going to be a positive number.
Yeah.
Then I got some other data that had some people, they had not done their assignment and they were negative. Their due date was in the past. And that is when the thing blows up. So if you were to change the dates in that table to all dates that are in the future,
it
works great. Boom, no
all
problem. Right. So, but if there's dates in the past, it doesn't work, blows up. So I'm like, oh, that just doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I can do this in the query editor and make a column that has today's date and do the math in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. That's where this days until due date column is generated. So I'm like, let me try this in Power BI and see what happens.
Okay.
And when I did that, I did not get that behavior. So it worked just fine.
So days remaining does work in here. And I bet it's exactly the same, right? From what we're just saying. It's
exactly the same
function.
It works with with dates in the past.
Interesting. Date to day. All right. Let's just see. Let's just go over here. And I'm wondering if I feel like I want to try it in like a calculated column and see if it behaves the same way. So let's say date, and the one we're gonna do past. Let's say for 2019, and today's date is 2019, and for 2019, and 2019. And of course, I'm just doing a hack. Just want to see it. Ooh, all right. All right, so we're in this table, and I am going to do a calculated column. And date diff between two input dates. Date and today. Oh, wait, is it not happy?
You've got to put the unit. So the word day, I guess, would be the.
All right, thanks. Okay, so it definitely worked here. Okay, let's try that same thing in Excel. And I should have maybe started off in Excel. Date, and we'll say today, 4/1/2019, 4/25/2019, and today's 4/19/2019, and 4/19/2019. Okay, let's add this to the data model. It does have headers. Okay, cool. Oh boy, moment of truth. And let's say date, comma, today, comma, day. Boy, I mean that's it's
strange,
can't be explained any other way. I mean it is.
And if you change the date, well, you can see if you go into the table and make every date in the future, that'll resolve itself.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, I can't even explain this one because the earlier examples that we have encountered have been, one was the uh, earlier examples, different behavior, right? Have been one, all, and sort by column. So if you used all with like the month or
Right.
something, so if you said calendar month, this works in Excel, but in the Power BI, you also have to include the sort by column, which and for month it's month num. So
Yeah.
Excel, so we know that one.
And we had one previously that had to do with the lookup table.
Yeah, I remember that example. Yeah, so it was something about the way the pivot table was structured, right? Oh gosh, I can't remember. Um, but yeah.
Well, I was trying to add a department to
Oh, I remember
based
that.
on a
It
key,
didn't. Yeah, so
and it would
um,
show every value
when
unless there was a measure,
showing,
and then it
yeah,
would work.
look up table column and data table column without a measure, without any measure. So here, Excel showed all combinations, right?
Yeah.
Even invalid ones. Uh, Power BI only showed valid. For example, if you had, so imagine in the earlier example we're talking about, for example, it's if you had a product table and then you had a product category as a separate table and they were linked. So with
Right.
Power BI, would only show you, like if category says bikes, it'll only show, the ones that are linked. But Excel would show you accessories, clothing, whatever. It doesn't matter. It just seemed to do it like a cross join even. So that was weird. But of course, I mean, if you added a measure, it did fix it. But yeah, the behavior was different. Now, these two can be explained by the explanation that I got for the first one, which of course I had shared with you, Steve, and I'm going to share here really quick, which is the difference between the model versus the client. And the model is something else, and in both in Power BI Desktop and Excel, it's kind of part of the same file, but it's really running a server. And obviously that's how we can connect to these servers when we go into DAX Studio and we say go to connect to this port, this link. Um, right? So it's running a server inside, and these differences, my best understanding is clients basically acting differently. The Excel client, the way it sends a query, the way it creates a query, it just sends in a different query. And of course, I guess we can validate it by running a trace on the server to see exactly, right? So these two can be explained by this, but not our new discovery. This one is it's not nothing to do with the client. We're not seeing the client. We're in the model when we're doing calculated column. So yeah, just I mean, it seems the basically, yeah, the way the functions has been implemented is different. Um, I'll ask around. I mean, to me, it sounds like a bug. I don't know if you've reached out to Power BI team yet. Have you
Oh no,
reported?
no,
Okay.
I haven't. Just
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
just discovered it, and I thought,
yeah.
well, if you have to do it in Excel, you use the query editor. If you want to do it in Power BI, you use the function.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can
Seems
probably.
kind of.
Have you tried? Can you do like an if statement? I don't know if that would work. If you can
Yeah, I didn't
say
get that
if,
far into it.
yeah,
You probably could. Well,
yeah.
you might be
Let's
able to.
just,
I don't know.
yeah, let's just try it really
I can
quick. So
further
if we
explore that,
say, yeah,
or
date,
absolute value or something. I don't know, but
I got it. If this, let's just try it. See how that, if date is less than this, then do this. Or maybe I have it backwards. Let's try it. Okay, so the if statement works, but of course, I mean, the underlying
if it's
behavior we
negative,
saw
you
was,
may want to know. You may want to know if it's negative.
oh gosh, yeah, you're right. I wonder if there is another way then. Mm. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, given that it's working in Power BI just fine, I like that behavior.
Well, and the logic of it, there's no reason it
Yeah.
shouldn't
Oh
work.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true. Yep,
just
yep. Makes sense.
so.
So yeah,
Yeah.
good one.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Thanks, mate.
that's good. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yep. Wow. So yeah, earlier when I said Power BI is always right, well, and again, I mean, this is the same engine. This is supposed to be the same engine. Clearly, the different flavor of it. Usually, my understanding is that the Excel engine is a little more stable, if you will. So it doesn't have as frequent releases. So what they do is that Power BI Desktop that moves faster, and that gets all the new features and all that stuff. In a way, there's also another level, which is PowerBI.com. So sometimes they test functionalities in PowerBI.com, and that at the time, which was a while ago now, but when I was in Microsoft, they were doing weekly releases for PowerBI.com. That was pretty insane. I'm not sure if they're still doing it. Power BI Desktop was a monthly release, and Excel is Office 365 is a monthly release, but it tends to lag behind. In the sense that they just, obviously it makes sense. I mean, Excel, it's it's a bigger piece of software, so they just have to go through a little more testing and so forth, just to make sure that everything works. So that's the cycle that I've seen. But it's possible that that this is not a lag thing. I don't think what Steve showed us, the dative thing, I don't think it's a lagging thing that owes. I think it's just something that's been missed in Excel and so forth. So yeah, we'll see what we hear back from the Microsoft team. As I'm sure me or Steve or both will reach out or something. Or if you guys unravel the mystery, let me know. All right, so save the layout of the model. Oh, is that what you guys are talking about? Oh, yeah. I I don't think that there's. So if you're talking about like how the tables are laid out, it isn't an option right now. I would say submit this to the IDS site. I mean, of course, the fact that it gets rearranged by itself, that's just a bug to me. So that one is a bug. But then you may even want to save a layout externally. I don't really know. I know SQL Server allows you to create database diagrams, which are pretty much the same thing, and it does allow you to save those and export those. Short of that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what your purpose is for saving it. I'm gonna suggest a screenshot. You know, um, yeah, it's the best I have. All right, folks, how are we doing in time? 11:36. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go out and walk the dog at some point, but we're good till then. Let's yeah, I think things have quieted down a little bit. I think we had a good deep dive question earlier. I really enjoyed that with Sean. That was really good. And let's see, I'm gonna go back and scroll through. Oh gosh, so Sean is definitely. Oh, where was the? Man, Sean McDonald. He's like headed for the Hall of Fame. I think he has asked like 3 gold star questions. 2 have ended up with videos on my channel, which is awesome. All right, so let's see. All right, folks. I say let's say goodbye for now. And again, let me go back to this. So we have some exciting stuff coming up in May. Watch out for that. May 3rd is a big date. Real Power BI final presentations. I've obviously been working with most of these folks, been seeing their progress, but some are kind of working on their own, which is awesome. So I'm excited to see what they share about their experience. Now, of course, as you've probably seen me, everything is pretty much in beta. So we're always looking for feedback and to improve things better. Now, I have my list of things, which I've already written down and discussed with my team. It's like, hey, next time we run Real Power BI, how can we make it bigger, better, faster? Of course, one thing we're looking at it is this time, I think there are about 10 projects overall. Maybe 7. So some folks, there was also, we also had the idea of bringing own projects. So instead of being connected to a client project, said, oh, I have my own project. I just want to use this structure and use this month and work with this group to kind of dedicate myself to that. So 3 were like that, I think. But what we're thinking is that how can we make it even bigger? I don't know, can we do 20 projects? Can we do 30? Can we do 50? Now, we're not going to in any hurry to get there. Frankly, we want to do it right rather than necessarily scale up. But that's always in our mind, because if we can run it on a bigger scale, that means we can just empower more people with that. And again, you've heard me talk about the Pro Plus group. You saw some of them. I shared some of their stories. Of course, Steve was hanging out with us all the time, and I've really enjoyed working with them. And initially, it started off as a 3-month program, but we're gonna extend that. I think 3-month. And again, we didn't know. It was just an idea in my head. So 3 months was just what I pulled out of my head at that time. Now I'm pretty sure that we wanna. It's gonna be better as a 6-month program. Just give everybody more time to kind of sink in, absorb, not feel rushed. So we're going to extend the current Pro Plus members. We're going to extend their program for 3 more months. And the next enrollment, this is going to be 6 months, which is pretty much, the end of the year, right? I mean, so we'll be excited about that. So I know I haven't really enjoyed working with these folks. Let's see, why don't we go back to that slide, just because I love seeing them so much. We've almost hung out quite often, and of course we've been using Slack for our community, so that has helped us connect in a deeper way. And I'm already in awe of the things they've done, and always talk about the inner journey. That's the one that's more important. So it's not about learning the new DAX function data. So of course they're picking up a lot of kind of soft skills from each other as well. All of that stuff that I talked about, collaboration before competition. I mean, Steve has been helping out Cheryl. Mark has been helping out Frank and Peter, and the other day I connected Noah with Jason. I'm like, Jason is like a few steps ahead of you. Talk to him, and of course I've talked about where sometimes the best teacher is not me. Often, it's not me, because frankly, the time when I was focused only on my consulting was a long time back. Since then, my journey has more been about training, and consulting a little bit has ebbed off, and I gave up consulting altogether. And of course, now we're just funneling leads to our students. So if you think about it, somebody who stepped into this a week ago, a month ago, right, is in a way better equipped to help somebody else who's just starting out than me. So we've seen a lot of that happen. So yeah, I'm really jazzed about this group, and of course, hindsight is 2020. So of course, I realized that, oh gosh, we could have done this better. So in a way, they were the guinea pigs, and they're gonna make the next program that much more powerful. But I've enjoyed that experience. Of course, we get to hang out for 3 more months, but I'm looking forward to kind of recruiting the next batch of superheroes. All right, folks, we'll talk soon. Until then, power on.